Good evening, f***ers. Hey there, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Talking to Myself, the part of the day where I talk to myself about things that I was thinking the night before while laying in bed. Shout out, of course, to all 1,400 subscribers. At the time of making this video, I truly do appreciate it, as well as shout out to Kings of Leon, and also condolences to the to them for the recent passing of their mother. May she rest in peace. And shout out to Fujifilm US for continuing to hook stuff up. Today I'm doing things a little bit different. I just have a few things I basically want to talk about, and then I've been gone for so long. It's been about a week and a half. To me, it feels like forever because the amount of comments I've gotten, the amount of people saying, "Where have you been?" Just because I was out on vacation. So I'm actually going to be doing kind of like a Q&A and responding to some comments that I got recently. And just answering some things, questions from people, or just responding to some stuff just to, give something as far as I can't respond to all these comments because they've gotten more than I usually am used to, and so this is what it has to be. But the first couple of things that I actually just wanted to discuss. Number one, when traveling, I just have to say the 23 f2, the 50 f2, 35 f2, 16 2.8. This is probably the first trip in a while because of the pandemic that I've taken with the Fujifilm camera and actually grabbed an XT30. So that's what I actually used for this cruise trip. It was fantastic, amazing. All of these lenses are great. These small, fast lenses, yes, they are fast. I know people think that f2 isn't a fast lens. If you don't think f2 is a fast lens, I don't really know what to tell you. I mean, literally just help yourself out, because I'm going to disappoint you when I tell you that 1.4, 1.2, 1.0, shooting every shot that you can at that isn't a professional look. It's not a thing that really challenges you. It's not creative all the time. It's not an artistic kind of thing. It's just something you're doing because it gets likes on Instagram and because Reddit forums say that that's what you're supposed to do. So I'm not someone who shoots wide open a lot, and I'm very happy with that. So me, as someone who usually stops down to f1.8 to f2.8 for shooting regular individuals whenever I'm just having me time, all the way down to 5.6 to f8 for group photos, that apparently is blasphemy to a lot of you. So these lenses are fantastic. They're great. I'm putting up some sample images right now, but the biggest thing to talk about is, actually there's two things. Number one, the best camera to have on you at all times is your cell phone. Saw so many people during these cruises using their cell phone. That's one thing I want to say, you guys. If you're not comfortable with taking a camera out and about, there's nothing wrong with using your phone. There's nothing unprofessional about using a phone. The algorithms and everything are so good on this. There's nothing unprofessional about using a phone in low light. I mean, honestly, if you can just have this, if you can have a cell phone with you, have a cell phone with you. Wouldn't it be better to just capture an image than have to worry about pulling out a camera? Not everything has to be rocket science. Not everything has to appease people on the internet. Use your phone for anything you can do. The first 3 days of this cruise, I used my camera. The last 2 days, I was using my cell phone. The images are just as good. If I want to black and white them or whatever, which is something I've been into thanks to El De Leon, my boy Lee De Leon. He's been the inspiration for my noir kind of vibe. When it comes to just having something there to take photos of, your phone does just fine. So for those of you guys who are thinking, man, I kind of want a camera to do like small things with, or to take on vacation, listen, save yourself some cash. Just use your camera on your phone. Invest in some moment lenses or the knockoff 2 moments. It doesn't matter. Buy those above buying a new camera. Save yourself some cash, and also you're going to get just as good as images. I mean, how many times are we taking images in no light whatsoever? And if you already have a nice camera body with nice lenses, don't invest more into another body. Invest into more lenses. Use your phone, dude. Use your phone. The 50mm f2.0 is probably the most slept on camera in Fujifilm history, probably period, out of lenses all time in any manufacturer. It's pretty high up there. I mean, it might be up there with the 55 1.8 Zeiss for that's from Sony, and the 35mm, actually the 50mm 1.4 from Sigma for Canon. Underrated as hell. Dorian Coleman's been telling me for months, almost 6 months now, that is the best lens to him for portrait photography with Fujifilm, and he's right. I put it side by side and I put the images up with the 90mm, and if you can tell which ones are the 90mm, that's great, but you can't. And I'm actually just going to tell you which ones are which, because I ended up just using the 50mm on the XT30 because it looked that damn good. Especially whenever you can get closer to the subject, it just makes up for basic. I mean, the compression is still great. The blur is amazing. I like the swirl that it has to it. It's sharp all the way across. It's literally a mini 90 millimeter. And to me personally, I'm curious about getting one in black because I have a silver combo for all of the lenses I have in my X-T30. But man, you know what? The 90mm f2, it's a great, fantastic lens, and I really like it. I really, really like it. But the 50mm does the exact same thing, comes out just as sharp. Again, I'm of the belief that if I can't justify having a redundancy in my bag, number one, and if I can't justify the price for something over something that does something similar, I'm going to get rid of the higher price thing and go with the lower price one, because it's the name of the game is basically saving money and not being in debt. And I play that game pretty hard. And so there's a chance the 90mm, which to me is my favorite portrait lens on Fujifilm. But I have a 70 to 200 or 50 to 140 f2.8. I have this 50mm f2, and the 35 1.4 is still my GOAT portrait lens. For me personally, I just don't know if it makes sense fiscally and basically from a redundant standpoint to keep the 90mm f2, just because honestly, I just like the 50, and if it does the exact same thing, am I keeping the 90 just to say that I have the 90? These are the conversations you need to have with yourself. If I would have been smart enough to side by side these before, the 50 and the 90, it probably would have saved me some cash, number one, even though I got this 90 at a good deal. But, you know, I mean, I would have realized sooner that they're pretty much, despite the amount of compression, they're basically the same formula. And so the 50mm f2, to me, is the fourth best bang for your buck lens in the Fujifilm lineup. The 90mm f2 is number one, but it is higher priced. To me, the 35 1.4 is number two. I personally think the 70 to 300 is number three, because that lens is sharp as hell, and then the 50mm f2. So shout out to Fujifilm for making amazing Fujicron lenses. Honestly, things are so affordable. And yeah, so if any of you guys were thinking, do I need the 90 f2 if I have the 50mm f2? No. 50mm f2 is a fantastic portrait lens, period. And again, if you guys don't know who John Branch 4 Photography is, I kind of would love for you guys to go watch his videos for his wedding photography and follow him to the day. He primarily uses a 23 f2 and a 60mm 2.8 and a 35mm f2 for majority of his work. That's a big deal for the reason being, everyone says f2 and f2.8 are too slow. Well, he uses those f2 lenses in natural light. No flash until he gets to reception. He's using the 16 2.8. The guy is a genius what he does. He has great, fantastic images. He's the person that I kind of learned underneath whenever I started getting into wedding photography and engagement photography. Go check out his stuff, because he'll show you the f2 lenses. People make a big deal like, oh, f2, you're not going to have any light. Listen, just learn how to shoot with the light that you have, and just learn how your camera works. It's better to invest in yourself and your knowledge and your skill than it is to invest in gear that won't make you a better photographer. It'll just make you more popular in Reddit forums and on Instagram. On to right now, the comments, because I haven't gotten to get to all of them. I'll just read a few of them. I may have answered some of these, but most of these are because multiple people have asked me. Alan Schneider asked me, since the XH1 and X-T3 have dropped so much in price, would you lean towards one of them over the XS10 or prefer the XS10? Me personally, I got my XH1 for $650 with a battery grip and 3 batteries. For that reason, I went with the XH1 just because the battery grip, because I loved it. And the X-T3, I would do the exact same thing. If you can get a battery grip with these flagship cameras, with guaranteed, verified weather sealing, and you know, they just have a few more bells and whistles, I say get these because it's a better purchase financially. Now, if you can get an XS10 for you know, $750, that's a great camera too. It's fantastic. You know, I mean, it might be weather sealed. Who knows? They've messed around with it. But it's honestly a better performer if you're talking about just specs over the X-T3 and over the XH1. So I would recommend it there. But if you're getting a battery grip with it, it's always nice to have that kind of peace of mind whenever you're either recording video or taking photos, that I've got a second battery that's gonna help me keep on chugging along. Gary Morrow asked me, could you do a 33 f1.4 lens review? Your thoughts on it versus the 35 1.4 would be appreciated. Love your honesty, thanks. So I actually am in conversations with the guy from Fujifilm US to basically get a 33 1.4. He's offered it to me because right now I'm waiting for the GFX system, because I want to test the autofocus for street, for portraits, for sports, etc. Because I think everyone's blowing contrast and everything out of the, you know, they're just making a big deal out of it because everyone feels insecure when they're shooting full frame. So I want to do that, but the 33 1.4, I probably am going to get it in my hands. The reason why I didn't want to review it at first whenever I was offered it was specifically because the 35 1.4 does everything I need to do, and I've already shot the 50mm 1.0, and I've already shot the 70 to 300, which have similar lens formulas. So Fujifilm's new lens formulas, let's break it down here really quickly. So one thing to keep in mind with these new lenses is think of all of Fujifilm's old lenses. They're a lot smaller, and the reason being is because they wanted to keep them compact on the camera. So they only made the glass large enough, or as large as it needed to be able to cover the sensor to be able to give them the full readout. Now what happens with that is something that people complain about with a lot of lenses, maybe before the last 5 years from every company, and that softness on the edges, because you're getting to the edge of the glass on the sensor. Now Fujifilm and all these other camera companies, what they're doing is they're making larger lenses, not because they need it for the autofocusing system, etc., etc. It's because they want the lens elements to be larger than the sensor, so that you're getting more of the center of the glass, so it's sharper from corner to corner, and that's the reason they're doing it. So I knew that it was pretty much going to be the same formula as those other two, and I already know it's probably it's 100% going to be sharper than 35 1.4, and honestly the 35 1.4 just has a different look to it. And you guys can talk about character, it doesn't mean this, it doesn't mean that, but listen, different lenses have different looks and it's nice. That 90mm f2, warm as hell. I actually preferred the 50mm f2 files because it wasn't as warm, especially when you're working in daylight or golden light, excuse me. So, or golden hour. So because of that, you know, you kind of make decisions whenever it comes to lenses, at least in my perspective, based off of what your needs are and the focal length, and everything else is a moot point. Lenses 9 times out of 10 are sharp enough unless you're getting a really bad copy of a Chinese made lens. That's what it is. So I am gonna get 33 1.4, but that's my initial thoughts on it because I'm already prepared, because I already know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be sharper and it's not gonna be faster autofocus. That's already been confirmed by DP Review. You can check their review, but no, the autofocus isn't faster. People have lied to you about how fast autofocus comes from linear focus motors. It's all algorithms. Please stop believing that new motors means it's gonna be faster for video or anything like that. Please stop doing that. Lumberjack 3008 said, a lens making such an awful noise isn't the problem. He's talking about 35 1.4 because I said it's not an issue. Of course it is. Always the same hype about a 9-year-old lens. Slow as or slow AF, sorry. It isn't bad, really good, but that's all. Hyping lens with optical flaws and outdated AF is a great marketing sense. Well, first of all, you have a monkey as your profile pic, which shows me that you're afraid to put who you are behind what you have to say. I don't know. You guys tell me, any professional photographers out there, people that are paid to do this, or even hobbyists, has anyone ever heard your lens and thrown a fit because it's too loud during a photo shoot? Professional videographers, when you have someone mic'd up and you're not using internal audio, can you hear the lenses? You can't. So it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter unless you're someone who says weird things like this. Slow autofocus, it's actually not true. Again, if you guys have never used lenses, don't talk about lenses. Don't talk about things you don't know anything about. Plain and simple, it helps everyone out, but you just look dumb. And so I'm not gonna entertain the rest because it doesn't make any sense. People really do get upset about stuff if you don't think the same as them, which I know that I defend my positions a lot, but at the same time, I'm usually defending them because I know what I'm talking about or because I've used something enough to be able to feel like I give an opinion. Someone asked me, will you upgrade your 18f2 to the 18 1.4? I don't have the 18f2 right now, but I'll probably end up getting it again. Actually, I'm gonna end up getting it again. I will not upgrade to the 18f 1.4. Someone said, I believe the XS10 replaces the XT30. There won't be an XT40. That was from C3 Vet. I 100% agree with you, and I'm glad they're replacing the XT line, the 30, 40, whatever lines with the XS10, because the XS10 is a fantastic filling camera. It's great, it has IBIS. It is the perfect size to put IBIS in a small body from Fujifilm, and I kind of like the button layout. It reminds me of the XH1. You guys can say what you like and don't like about it. I didn't come to Fujifilm though for the dials and the nostalgic feel and the look of it. I literally came because I liked the files, I liked the lenses, and I liked the sensor. That's really the only reason I came to Fujifilm. It wasn't an aesthetic thing for me, so that's why I'm not really caring much about the way the bodies look. So a lot of these questions too have been asking me about my Tony Northrup videos, like, hey, what did I do it? Did I get a response? Blah, blah. I don't know. I haven't looked. I don't really care. It wasn't to basically have a conversation with Tony. It was literally to let everyone know that the guy lies about a lot of things. He didn't watch anything that had to do with Fujifilm. You know, he makes stuff up. a lot of the time. And he never used to be like that, but he's more clickbait. So people shit on Jared Polin all the time, but I would rather trust Jared Polin, who, you know, when he is wrong, he doesn't double down on it. He just shuts up. Tony Northrup will double down on his idiocy, and so it kind of just bugs because he lied about a whole Fujifilm event. That's why I made the video, because I wanted you guys to be aware of what was happening. Fujifilm has a lot coming up. He didn't watch the event, so he didn't know about anything that was said. He didn't know about the lenses or about the new sensor and the confirmation of a new flagship, which is going to be the XH2, because he didn't watch it, but he lied about watching an event, and so that's where we are at with that. So no, I don't have any animosity towards Tony Northrup. He just lies, and I think you guys should know that motherfucker is a liar. So that's that. I hope this video went well. I don't even know if I rambled or answered any questions. I'm probably going to be lazy and not even put what people's comments are, but you guys are going to know that you commented because I just read your names of your comments, so you could just say what's up. And so that's it. I'm glad to be back. Just thought I'd make this video to give an update. Again, the 15mm f2.0. If you guys have some cash to get one of those FUJICRON lenses and you want to shoot portraits, don't get the 35 f2, get that 50. If you're thinking of the 90mm f2, but you don't have the cash for it and you've only got $400 and you need to save up $200 to $300 more to get a 90mm f2, buy the 50. It's going to be just as good, and I hope those images proved it. So that's it for this, and have a good one.